putting that on the table, like, but I'm not.
All right, so, well, listen, I mean, I just want to process and talk about what we talked about last week, which was what? What was the main?
Ego.
He's like, he's like my prize pupil. No, because half the other people would look around like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, you're on Mars time.
Hey,
I
you're-
burned half of them away.
Hey, I believe him. So anyway,
You know, I've been here for so long, I know all the answers.
I know, he could do these, like, he literally could speak for me. So, let's talk about the ego a little bit. And let's figure out, Or, all right, we can talk about ego, we can talk about character defects, but let's talk about how, let's do this. Let's talk about how you recognize that maybe something in your past or a certain type of thing has been getting in your way. You understand?
Elaborate.
I'm trying to think. here.
My trauma has.
Your trauma has? All right, so
Yeah.
talk about it.
Like I have this all this psychosis that like my family was like captured and everything.
That's drug-induced shit. I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
No, for real, because
But it's still bothering me. Like right now, like I feel like it's still getting in my way right now because I feel like whatever I do here, like if somebody like coughs or something, then it's like I feel like it's like my dead family like doing something or.
okay, so
Right.
this is like I was just saying, though, that's drug-induced shit. That's drug shit where that's a direct result of you using. I'm trying to talk about what were the reasons and what were the things that led us to the using to begin with. Do you understand what I'm saying? What came first, the chicken or the egg? And we could go around and around for days about stories about how drugs and alcohol have messed up our lives. I'm trying to talk about, go ahead.
Yes, quite a few years back, probably over 20 years ago, I ended up signing my rights to my daughter with my ex-wife wouldn't let me see her, and my current wife at the time, her only thing in life was to cause trouble.
That was the only reason she was alive.
Yeah, we go to the bar, she'd try to get me in a fight every time we went to a bar.
Why do you think she did that?
I don't know, when I wasn't there one day, she got in a fight and some dude beat her.
Well, all right, so let's even kind of break that down a little.
I'll be right back. My man is gonna kick your ass.
But why? All right, so all right, why would you call that? But listen, Lisa.
Yeah.
Would you call that attention-seeking behavior?
Yeah.
Right?
Don't act like you don't know all about that.
No,
Maybe it was like, let's see if you'll do it for me.
let's see if we do for me. Or maybe with the things I've done or the way I act, I deserve to be punished. Or do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
you see how and like attention-seeking behavior. Let's talk about that. Like, how many of us have done things to seek attention or approval from people, and it's the type of stuff that nothing good comes out of it.
Well, I can start with one thing that kind of goes along those lines, and I'll probably say it's my codependency, which is something I had. Now that they describe it a little bit for me, I know how to recognize it, and so it's like.
Well, all right. So real quick, tell me what that means to you.
Codependency means that I depend on people just for my existence, basically, or just to have some type of approval. And validation. So mainly, I went after my dad's approval, or like other people around me. I adapted to their liking.
Okay.
Like, you know,
All right. So that's unhealthy, right? Because let's be real.
it's very healthy for me.
It is, but let's be real.
Yeah.
The most healthy relationship in the world is still like just a man and a
No,
wife.
I
No,
get
hold
it.
on, a man and a wife, right?
Yeah.
Like they could be the healthiest people ever, right? They come from the fine family. Everything is fine for real.
Right.
Don't they depend on each other for certain things?
Yeah.
They do. So I guess it would be a codependent relationship,
Well, okay, I
but
get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
in a negative way, it's
exactly unhealthy.
For me, it was unhealthy.
Yes.
Because see, I had to adapt. I feel like I had to adapt to whatever your image is of me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't make people adapt to me. I adapted to other people.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Trying to be what you think the world wants you to be.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Which is at the detriment to you and your health and your well-being, right?
So-
Like, oh, they're smoking meth over here. I'm gonna smoke meth because I want them to like me.
Well, part of it was I didn't like myself too.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it.
Yeah.
I didn't like myself. I didn't like my image. I just didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got bullied a lot when I was younger,
Yeah.
and you know,
No.
No, I don't think so.
He's probably in the gym.
Or outside by the fire, music videos.
So go ahead, Bill. This
so,
is
yeah,
good stuff.
you know,
by
like,
the way.
I got like, you know, I was, I mean, a lot of kids got bullied when they were younger, right? But it was just the way I took it. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
our,
I hated myself.
and I say this all the time. Anybody in here not think that they're an ultra sensitive type of person?
I fucking hate it.
Oh, no.
We are. Well, here's the thing, because sometimes, every now and then, I got somebody that says, "Well, not me," and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Then why drugs and alcohol feel
That's
so?"
probably the
I'm
most
gonna tell you,
sensitive
I'm
motherfucker in the room.
gonna tell you something. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it was
What is
my
that?
uncle,
I couldn't hear you.
like,
Well, because what I was saying is, if we're not so sensitive,
Right.
and I'm breaking it sensitive a little different than what we're talking about,
Yeah.
why do drugs and alcohol feel so good to us?
well, I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah.
Because this leads up to all of that. For
Good,
me, this
good.
was one big problem for me. I had a problem with this. So basically, when somebody tells me I don't look bad like that, I can like right now I feel terrible, like I look bad. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm used to being smaller than this now. You know what I mean? But like my uncle died when I was younger, and he had a heart attack in my parents' house.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all he did was eat fried chicken all the time. He was a great musician, but he ate himself to death.
Yeah.
So when people would tell me, oh, you remind me of your uncle, like, I was like, no, motherfucker, I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I hated that.
Yeah.
And when I overheard some guys in high school talking and saying, hey, you can lose weight doing this, smoke crack. I didn't know what crack was. But I knew what
He's like, I
cocaine
like
was.
this. I like fried chicken, but
But
the
no,
similarities
but-
in there.
But seriously, I
The
was
stem cell
I was that determined to like get rid of that idea.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to lose weight. So I was like, and I did.
Yeah.
But I looked fucking sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was, I'm telling you, that's one main reason like why I started using drugs in the first place. And then it just became like, fuck that. You know, that problem's out of the window, right?
And now you got this.
Now you're just doing fucking drugs.
Yeah. Now you got
Now
this.
you just getting high.
You got this gorilla on your back.
You got this gorilla on your back. So the main reasons like just disappeared.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of it was just like I always hated myself.
Yeah.
If it wasn't one thing, it was something else.
Let me ask you something. So you think, all right, so we get this hate from ourselves. Do you think, and I think I know this, but do you think it's because we have, hey, Emily,
Hey, Emily.
we have these high expectations of ourselves, or we want perfection from
Yeah,
ourselves?
yeah, I have a lot.
And
of
is that realistic?
No.
No, it's not. It's unrealistic.
But
But we
your
do that to ourselves.
expectations will kill you.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
No, well, that.
And mine's almost killed me.
Remember what I was saying before about the equalizer and how we have to get everything in the middle instead of like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and like they'll say all the time, like you need to love yourself. You need to learn to love yourself. Anybody in here know? And anybody have any idea of what that might feel like? See, well,
Not yet.
I'll explain it to you. I don't hate myself because I am a liar, cheat, and a thief anymore, right? That's where the love for myself kind of comes in, because I don't hate myself. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm not walking around like, man, I'm fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do that. I don't look in the mirror and like shoot finger guns and shit. You know, you know what I mean? Like, but I don't hate myself. I don't hate myself, and I try super hard
Right.
not to do anything that's gonna make me mad at myself or you know, like I told you, like I don't make decisions without God based in them,
Yeah.
because when I make decisions that don't have God in the picture, then I'm usually regretting those, whether it be a small thing or a big thing, and then I'm hating myself and I'm holding, why did I do
You
this?
know, one thing I used to always look for is that any feeling or any change had to be something that I could grab onto that was tangible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, when you say to let, like my parents or somebody would tell me to let go of something, right? But like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I need to really like, it needs to be something tangible that I can really feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
I don't know how to do that.
That comes into the writing shit down, right?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I remember, so, you know, let's look at step 3 for a second, right? Because I'm tying it exactly what you said. What you just, how do you do that? Made a decision, turned my will and my life over to care of God, you understand? I remember having conversations with people being like, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, because I would say, and I wasn't trying to be funny, is God going to text me? How do I know what God wants me to do? Do you understand? Because now, at this point, I'm willing to try, like, I definitely have the light bulb go off and say, man, left up to my own devices, I mess shit up. You know what I mean? So, okay, how do I do that? And then, I mean, I pondered on this for a while. I stressed about it. And then one day a light bulb goes off and it says, I might not know what God's plan or God's will or God wants me to do. I don't know how, but I know what he doesn't want me to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I know what he doesn't want me to do. It's not to do drugs and sell drugs and run around and chase people and do this. You know what I mean? Like, try to force everything and all this other stuff. Okay, so maybe God's will for me right now is to be sitting in an AA meeting and doing, you know, because God showed me the path. Just walk that path. Because our shit is that letting it go thing. We want to do it right now and get on to the next thing.
Right.
And it's a process. Like what you said, it's a process. It's writing it down on paper. It's processing it. I say this all the time. If you don't deal with the causes and conditions, like what you were talking about right here, that led you up to doing the drugs and the alcohol to begin with, if you don't deal with those causes and conditions, it's going to deal with you. It's going to come out in other messed up, self-destructive behavior. You know how many times people put the drugs and the alcohol down, and next thing you know, it is food,
Yeah.
or it's sex,
Yeah.
or it's shopping, or it's gambling, or it's fighting with everybody. Yes.
But I didn't realize until like I got here how much trauma I had to deal with. Like, you know, because you're not supposed to see people like get shot right in front of you.
No.
And I seen a lot of that as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it was crazy. So, you know, I didn't realize until I got here how much I had really in my subconscious that just been sitting there and just might have been blocked off for a long time. I had to go back and dig it up.
Well, here's the thing. It's not blocked off. You're carrying it with you.
Yeah.
Remember how I was saying the other day in that group how all that stuff was, I'm dragging it with me, and because you see that type of stuff, and you see this, you see it, you formulate these, whatever, and it goes, so just because it happened a long time ago, doesn't mean it's not directly affecting you today.
Yeah.
Do you understand? That's why when I say all the time, you either deal with it or it deals with you. You cannot heal what you don't reveal. Saying shit like, well, it is what it is, or I don't give a F, or whatever. Go ahead, say that all you want. That's not going to get you anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, I bet my arm on it. Like, I bet my arm on it when you guys start cleaning house, as they call it, and start putting this in its right perspective, instead of the, you know, like, does anybody in here ever have any success with stuffing anything down? Who had their hand up? Go ahead, Tina.
Come to table.
You never. Yeah.
My addiction mostly came from me being molested by my uncle when I was younger, and not really from that, but from my mom not helping me out and seeing it. Because whenever I went to my mom about it, she didn't do a single thing about it. Like, and genuinely, now that I go back and like I've got the help with it, I understand it. Like, when I go back and look back, I love my mom to death. But I feel like she just didn't know how to handle it, and that's okay. I never would look at it like that before, but like now I can look at it like that today. Even though like it's wrong, it's fucked up. Like I haven't told you this, but like I was around him every fucking year, Christmas, Thanksgiving. I had to be around him. Like, even after my abuse, I was abused for 4.5 years straight by my uncle. I was locked in closets and shit, crazy shit, but sexual abuse. So, like, even after that, my mom didn't care. Like, I was, 16, 17 years old. You're going here. You have no choice. You're going to Thanksgiving. But I had to see that man face to face for like 3.5 years after my abuse. So, like, I never really got the help from my mom that I needed because she never heard me out. So, like, after that became validation and getting approval from others because I didn't get approval from my mom. So trying to be cool and trying to hang around with the wrong crowd just came from not getting approval from my mom. And I see it like that today, but I would have never fucking seen it like that before. Man, I thought I didn't have a problem. I just fucking drowned myself in drugs. But after drugs, he's right. It was just drugs. It was no longer the other issues. I had this fucking weight on my back that I was just carrying. I was carrying like humility all over me, and I was not fucking humble at all. Like, I didn't give a shit about anything. I didn't give a fuck what I said to this person. This person made me mad. We were throwing fucking hands. I didn't give a fuck who
Well,
you
because you
were.
were angry.
I was angry. I was angry my whole life at my mom. And like after I got kicked out because I didn't want to wear pants and shit. My mom's Pentecostal. She's real strict. But she kicked me out of a religion, and that really fucked with me. You know what I mean? Like once again, I didn't get the help from my mom that I needed. She's still not fucking seeing it. You know what I mean? But now today, I can say that I see it in a whole different perspective because I know my mom was hurt too. My mom was abused too. So you know what I mean? So like, she's like, oh wow, this happened to me, and it happened to my fucking son too. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. And I see it like that, and I had to talk
So
with
do
her
you
about
think she
it.
was living in a little bit of a denial?
She was, and so was I.
Yeah.
We were both living in denial. I mean, I was in denial over my whole life, but like I talked to her the other day about that. I just had to open it up because if I would have never fucking talked about it, I would have never got past it. So I was like, Mom, and that was about working the steps. I was like, Mom, I got to talk to you. I was like, you know what? I forgive you. Even how fucking hard it was for me to say that, I really do genuinely forgive her. But if I would have never said, hey Mom, I forgive you, I would have never been able to move past it. I was like, Mom, I know you were abusive. I know you might not understand it and you just freaked out and didn't know what to do. I forgive you. Even though you allowed me to be around him for all those years after, I understand it was her brother. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like,
She probably just couldn't grasp.
she couldn't because her dad fucking freaked out whenever he found out, and our whole family just fucking split in two. Like, my mom's side of the family did not talk to us for like 3.5 years. They still don't talk to us today. And in fact, she told me today that my aunt, well, on her side was like, why the hell didn't you tell me that Tate was in rehab? Because, bitch, we don't need to tell you anything. Like, you weren't here. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, and then my grandpa was like crying. He was like, oh, I can't believe you did this. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, you know what I mean? You still don't fucking understand. Like, your family is fucked up. End of story.
Well,
like,
listen, I think that's
Yeah.
real quick. That's really heavy shit.
yeah.
You're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, and I'm proud of you. And I think the best thing that you said there, because here's the deal. Anybody else that's dealing with resentments against their parents or a sibling or anybody out there, chances are they're damaged and sick people too. Like, you don't have any two healthy, well-adjusted people, like leaving people out there in drug. Like, your mom, unfortunately, didn't have the capability or tools to help you through it.
Right.
You know, and here's the thing, like your mom, your parents, your mom and dad, like especially, they're supposed to be the protectors, right? Because from the cradle to the grave, human beings, when we go through something like that, or any other type of thing, all we really, it's like we're a baby that just wants their bottle in a microcosm, like, we just want to know, we want to be told it's going to be all right. We just want some help and support through that. And when you didn't receive that, of course you got angry.
Yeah, but that was my way of making amends, though.
Yeah.
Because if I would have never said, "Hey, I forgive you," I guarantee you, I would have never got over it. I would have never been able to move on and just say it would have been in my mind all the time. And I had to let her know because for her sake too. It was for me, but for her sake too. Because like I don't know what the fuck she's going through in her head. Like maybe she just needed to hear that her whole life. Maybe she's been waiting to hear me say, "Hey Mom, I forgive you. I'm sorry, and I'm also sorry for all the fucked up shit I done." Like I can say I'm sorry all day long, but the forgiveness was a way of me making my amends to my mom. And that's just
And
how
here's the thing that people don't understand is like, you forgiving her, it's not to let her off the hook.
yeah.
It's so that, well, him forgiving her is so that he could let that go. You understand? He confronted it. He put it out there. He's able to let it go and move on. And the more you share it like this, because here's what I'm about to tell you. Who in here has been through either something like that or the loss of a relative or seen some violent, like, and I'm guessing every one of us have been through something like that, right? And addiction itself is a traumatizing experience, right?
Right.
See, when you get right with this and you put it in its right perspective, and then you're able to go on and help somebody else through it, you just gave the biggest problem, the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle that you ever had. Now you, when you help somebody else through exactly what you went through, you just gave the most messed up thing in your life a different type of meaning. You know what I mean? And that helps you deal with it. And that,
But you know,
yeah.
really, it's just like when I get vulnerable like that, though, I usually feel like it's a sign of weakness. You know what I'm saying?
No, because we're conditioned to think that. But is it harder to be like that, or is it easier to just pretend everything's okay? Because it's actually harder to get up and talk the way he did or the way you did. So what's really the tougher? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's actually harder to do this. And this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. All the shit that's going to take you to get better, it's going to go against every self-reliant natural instinct that you have because we're so self-destructive to the core. But that's what it's going to take to get better. My first AA meeting, it was an NA meeting, my first meeting I ever went to, and I seen people do this type of stuff. I was blown away. I never seen people putting themselves out there and being vulnerable like that as a way to get better so that they could be better for themselves and their family. I recognized it as a strength right away. I wasn't able to do it myself at that point, but I was like, holy shit. Because it's a lot easier for us to stuff it down. But here, like, on the surface, it's a lot easier to stuff it down, say it doesn't matter, say it's not a big deal, say it's not this, and then we just move on, and like we're basically running from the problem, but it never ever gets anywhere. We drag it with us. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, the only way to get it is to confront it and to go through that uncomfortable stuff so you can get out to the other side. Yeah, Michael.
Oh, no.
Okay, go ahead, baby.
For me, it was growing up weak, but it's different. I was actually in a really tight religious family also, and I would always fail classes, fail school, but do good in sports. But then that started declining also, and so I would also get beat up a lot for who I was, and then it just came to the point where my own cousin, like several years later, comes down and has what me and my sister have been smoking quite a while, pot, and he says, I've sold at least this much, and so in my head, when my father died, it got worse. It was like, oh, you think I'm the poster child or like the pony boy from Outsiders, but worse. I felt like an outcast. Like I felt like no one's gonna hear me out until I join a biker gang, until I get this like collection of power and like, because I couldn't go to the military because of this tattoo and gauges and the medicines I was on.
Well,
So
listen, I like what you said. Getting back to even what you just said and what you said and what you said, Will. When we start using, right, before we start using, do we not feel powerless, victimized? We feel victimized, we feel powerless. What does the drugs and alcohol do?
Make you powerless.
Well, it gives us the power to control these emotions and feelings at first, right? Is that not what it does?
yeah.
Until, like what Will said, until this thing that we use as to fix shit has
Fucking
actually
takes over you.
messed. Yeah, exactly. Because this is the truth. The problem that all of us sitting here now, here's the mind F of this whole thing. It used to be the solution to our problems.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
then it became the fucking problem.
Yes, exactly. And now, but here's the best, guys, it's an effing gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift that it can become that. Because now, guess what? The shit that you were using, the shit that we were using for the solution, which is never really a solution because it's just putting a Band-Aid on the gunshot wound. Now, that doesn't work anymore. So now what do we have to do? We got to confront the problem. We have to get down the causes and conditions. Guys, nobody should be walking around with the pain and the trauma and all this stuff that we have. Nobody should have to. But everybody does. Everybody is walking around. But what do? We live in a society where we pretend everything is okay.
Yeah.
What does social media look like? I don't have it. But what does this shit on social media? What does everybody try to convince everybody they have?
Their life is fucking
Perfect.
great. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we are a society of faking ass front and mother effers. You know what I mean? My life is great. You know what I mean? Little do you know, it's not. But everybody's embarrassed to talk about it. Why? Because they don't want to be weak and vulnerable, right? Is that true? We don't want to talk about that stuff because, it's complete and utter 100% bullshit. There is no weakness in putting that stuff out there, because when you share like you did, and you share like you did, and you share, like all of a sudden walls start coming down, and there's always going to be some people that are afraid to let go and afraid to. All right, and I empathize with that. Like I hate that, but this is where it starts. This is what happens. You say that, and we build to higher levels. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I said it in the group the other day, like when I got picked on and make fun of my clothes and make fun of this. Like guys, I used to fantasize about nice clothes. You know what I'm saying? I used to sit there and look at like stuff, and when I have my, I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Because I was convinced that if I could make it look good, it would feel good.
Me too.
Anybody else?
Me too. I would want to buy all the Versace shirts. I remember my grandma calling me one day.
You look
and
good
she
in a
said-
Versace shirt too.
She would say, "What happened to the boy who wore and did his hair every day? What happened to my little chickadee?"
Yeah.
And it just crushed my soul and like made me come back home. And like, I fucking hate it today because I can't.
Yes.
I sold
Yes,
all my
Trisha.
Versace for the fucking drugs.
Yes, Trisha.
Here's a problem on him.
Yes, dear.
I don't know where my alcoholism stems from. I didn't have a bad childhood. I had an awesome childhood. And when I was like 10 years old, I was already an alcoholic. And let me tell you how.
Well, that's not
I
an
was-
awesome childhood, though, dear.
No, listen.
Okay.
I used to go to Walgreens with my money for lunch and buy a bottle of NyQuil. I had bottles of empty bottles of NyQuil in between my mattress so my grandmother would find it. And when she found it, she took me to therapy. But I don't know where that came from or why I started
Can
doing
I
that.
suggest something? You said you loved your father, had a great relationship with your father, right? You see your father drinking like that. Is it maybe that you wanted to share in what he was doing because you wanted to be closer to him?
We were extremely close.
But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see, you love your father. You look up to your father. This is what he does. Maybe this is what you should do. Then you could share it with each other. Do you understand?
I understand what you're saying, but if my dad found out that I was doing that, it would crush
Well,
him.
that's probably why you hid it from him. But are you telling me it didn't make you curious? Did it tell you that, hey, my dad, who I look up to so much and love so much, if he's doing this, I want to do it too. 10 years old, young lady. That's
Look,
young.
but look, Mike, let me tell you what's so funny about that. My dad, he was like a comedian. He was
Yeah.
really a funny guy.
Charismatic.
Yeah, everybody loved him. But when he drank, he would come into our rooms and just cry. Tell us how much he loved us so much. And oh man, it would just piss me off so bad that he would do that. So I didn't want to follow in those footsteps for sure. But it's like I don't know where that stems from. Bless you. I just don't. And it seems like I guess when I started going to therapy and I got banned from Walgreens, it stopped for many years until I got in my teens. And then it used to be this wine called Cello Lambrusco. And see, I was raised by my grandparents, but my parents and my two sisters lived across the street from us. Weird. But my mom and my dad used to hold these card games on the weekends, and it would be so many people at their house. And so when I would go over on the weekends, my mom used to drink this wine called Cello Lambrusco. So when she would be playing or whatever, we'll crawl around on the floor and get a cup off the floor and like take little sips. That shit was delicious. I swear it's the best tasting thing I ever drank in my life. And I've tried to drink liquor. I can't drink no kind of liquor. I don't drink no kind of liquor. All I drink is wine, and I was totally obsessed with wine. And when Tate was talking, I was wondering, is pettiness part of that? Because let me tell you,
Yes.
the one thing that I resent, and I love my daughter from the bottom of my heart, but one thing I resent is when somebody else has an addiction or whatever, but they try to scold you for yours. Like, my daughter smokes a ton of weed,
Yeah.
and she hates when I drink, and she's always on my ass about drinking. So what I would do, because I would get pissed off because she's telling me while she's smoking on fucking sweet, she's telling me about how much I drink. So I would just leave all of my empty wine bottles all over the house.
But do you see how the cycle is? Remember how your dad used to come in and he'd be and you'd hate that?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure your daughter sees you after you've drunk and she hates that. and now she's doing this, and she'll probably have a daughter or a son that come along and hates that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Cycle of fucking
Listen,
madness.
I promise you, guys, we do what we're around and what we see. I mean, there was a guy like Tate. He was a couple of years older, and we were doing something like this, and he put his hand up and he said, you know, I grew up when my dad used to put hands on my mom and I hated him, and now I do the same thing to my girlfriend. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he doesn't want, like, why would he do that? Why would he do that? Because it's what he sees and what he knows, and it's like this is the way he learned, and it tore him up. It tears him up because listen, I grew up, my mother, sisters, like I shouldn't stereotype, right? My mom's side of the family is 100% Irish. Every stereotype that goes along with that. I used to sit around them with my uncle. My dad didn't drink or do drugs. I would sit around and go, I'm never going to be them. I am never going to be them. I'm not going to be some sloppy drunk that wants to fight my brother or sister or carry on or fall. You know what I mean? I'll never be that. So what did I do? I went to drugs. You understand? Like everything that like I was not like I'm not going to do that, and guess what I did? Exactly that. Yes.
I said for the longest fucking time, I'm never gonna take a pill. I said that. I made a promise to myself over that. I literally promised myself. I said I will never take a fucking pill. I smoked a fuck ton of weed. That's all I did really was smoke weed. And then I started hanging around these guys. And they fucking pulled out this blue pill, and it was fucking over with. That like the first time they pulled it out, I was like, I want that shit. It's gonna make me feel even better. I'm gonna fucking take it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
I just fucking took it. And
Yeah.
I told myself, I told everyone I would never take a pill. And here I am, fucking using opiates.
Listen, every single person in here can relate to that if they can't relate to the pill thing. Every one of us, when we started drinking a party and said, I'm never going to be the person that drinks every day, or I'm never going to be the person that gets so drunk they throw up on themselves, or I'm never going to be the person that uses needles. I'm never going to, anybody, am I?
No, you're smart.
Yeah, we all do that. And here's, why do you think we do that? Because one bad decision, you know, decisions made without God in them, one bad decision leads to another bad decision, leads to another bad decision, leads to another bad decision. All of a sudden, it's a good idea. So, I mean, seriously, like what Chris Herron said in that video the other day, where his friend said to him, why are you bothering sniffing that shit, man? Bang that shit. It's cheap. Like, how many of us use harder drugs or harder alcohol because it was the economic choice?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, I can get some, you know, think about it. If you're a beer drinker and you switch to vodka or you switch,
It's a lot
whatever,
fucking cheaper.
it's a
than weed.
lot cheaper. Yeah. But somehow, the amount of money we spend always goes up. So, you know, not only does the money go up, but our tolerance goes up, and our disease goes up, and the hate for ourselves goes up, and the mess we make goes up, and the cycle continues. And it's like the only way, you know, anybody in here ever like progress, but then somehow manage to go back to being a recreational or, I mean, show me the person that can do it, and you know, I'll shake their hand. It says in the book, if you can do the right about face, we applaud you.
I don't think I've done anything recreationally since I was like 17.
Well, because it's just, I mean, it's
Every
a
night I
disease.
went out, I was acting like it was my fucking birthday. Oh, today's your birthday.
Today's your birthday? Hey, it's Michael's birthday.
I didn't even know. I thought y'all mom. She's like, happy birthday. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
Happy birthday, Mr. Bird. Happy birthday.
But what's sad is I don't even know, like, and I'm being honest, I don't even know. Whenever I read recreational, I was like, what's that mean? And my sister's like, you're definitely manic.
What the fuck?
Well, I say that all the time. I say that all the time. Anybody in here who doesn't really think that it's them,
Cause I
talk to your family members.
I think
Tell them they have a past. Tell them they have a past to like really let you know, because we're the only one. Listen, here's the messed up part about our drug addiction and alcoholism. We're the last to know.
Cause I
didn't have to give my mom a fucking
I used to say, okay, I'm not gonna go over like 3 grams of this, but then it came to a part where like someone came in the room, they're like, hey, you went through 2 ounces of meth in one night, and I just knew, wow, what the fuck? Am I puffed? No, this is worse. I'm dying, and like nobody can like I just like fucking remember crying and calling like my friend in the bathroom quietly because if they hear me wanting to get out from their side of the ropes, they'll take my life. And so I just remember calling them. They said, "Hey, can you get to a safe place? We'll come and pick you up." And they did. And
Aren't you glad you have?
I am.
Yeah.
But like what's so weird and twisted in my head is I've been doing that for 5 good years. It's like that's all I knew for a while.
Well, listen.
And I will get to
That
the
is,
point whenever
listen,
I want to.
here's what you don't understand, because I think you actually kind of do. It is all we know. No matter how bad we want to be different, deciding to be different, you will not just be able to be different, you will go back to what you know. The only way to reprogram your brain is to strictly adhere to a program. Like, listen, if you listen to anything that I say, it's that if you leave here and you take directions from your brain, you will not meet. Your brain will tell you, all right, go to a meeting today. Your brain might tell you, go to a meeting 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. There will come times where your brain's like, man, we're tired. I don't want to. This is bullshit. I don't even think I need this. I've been good for 3 months and I haven't gotten high. Maybe I'm not that bad. Your brain will F you every single time. The only way to, you cannot change the way you act unless you change the way you think, because your actions, your thinking leads you to your actions. The only way to change the way you think is to act your way into right thinking, which means you're gonna have to do the opposite a lot. I say this all the time. Who in here is a Seinfeld fan? Somebody has to. You ever see the episode where George does the complete opposite of his first reaction? Gets a job with the Yankees in an apartment and the girlfriend all in one day? That's what you guys need to do. The complete opposite, because you're so self-destructive to the core. Like you don't know any other way that if we listen, I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
If we listen to this, when it says we are extreme case we are extreme examples of self-will run riot. That means that we will self-destruct. Left to our own devices, we'll self-destruct and destroy ourselves. And here's the coup de grace. We'll destroy everything around us in the process.
Yeah.
We'll take everybody with us. And we'll blame everybody else. Hold on.
Okay.
I'll go with this gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize until I got here, and I haven't even been here a week yet, but that was the first time I admitted to what I did with my little girl. And that night, I was drinking a lot of beer. And after I got divorced from her, it went on to become whiskey and Coke.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was because I was hurting, and I've never admitted to anybody what I did with my daughter. And it's hard to do, but the only way, like I said, the only way I'm gonna get rid of it is to admit to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And to get through, and the
And I
only
never
way.
thought I was a drunk. I mean, I knew I was a working alcoholic, but that's what I thought it was, a working alcoholic.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'll hear people say some dumbass shit. I was a functioning alcoholic. No, the ship just was sinking. It just hasn't went all the way underwater yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're headed for disaster. You just haven't fell off the cliff yet. There's nobody walking around, like, functioning better on drugs and alcohol than they would if they were clean and sober.
But I only did it at night, and I was up going to work the next day.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do. We say, oh, as long as I can go to work, if I'm paying bills, if I'm doing this, we set these parameters. It keeps us in denial. Do you understand what I'm saying? Oh, I mean, you know how many times I said that? Oh, I pay bills. I coach Little League.
Yeah.
I go to daddy-daughter dances.
I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah. What about me? It all comes down to what about me? You know what I mean? And it's like, it's getting to that resentment. That's how, when they say resentment is the #1 offender, don't think for 1 second, just because you're not walking around kicking the dog and screaming at everybody. If you're the type of person that says, well, I pay the bills, I pay my child support, I do A, B, C, and D, how come that's a resentment. You are resentful in the fact that you do all this stuff for everybody else and you get nothing for yourself. You're resentful of the fact that your mother should have protected you, and it should have been one way, and I'm gonna do this because I deserve to. You know what I mean? Like, and here's the messed up part. How self-destructive is that? You know what I mean? We justify ourselves poisoning and killing ourselves, and we think it's the right way. You know what I mean? Like, we're crazy. I mean, that's literal craziness, but that's what this disease brings.
And I didn't think I thought I was just sitting at home, relaxing, watching TV after work and having a few drinks. I didn't think about there was an underlying problem why I was drinking.
Yeah.
I thought I just enjoyed it and sat there after work in my house, not bothering anybody and having a few drinks.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do. But, you know, what does denial stand for?
Didn't
River
even
in
know
Egypt.
I was lying.
Don't even know I'm lying.
That it is a river in Egypt. You're right about that. But denial, don't even know I'm lying. Makes perfect. Here's the thing. Makes perfect sense to us. You know why it makes perfect sense to us? Because we've done said that shit so many times. It's a belief.
I don't recall even thinking that. I thought I just enjoyed having some drinks after work.
You had to know for a little bit that this was not the way it's supposed to be
I
done.
mean, here recently it became obvious because one of my best friends started talking to me about it. And got one of his friends that's been sober for 18 months, who I tried to call him today, but my phone wouldn't work. I just wanted to see if he'd be my
Sponsor?
sponsor.
Good. Good.
But I
You
couldn't
being
get a hold of
proactive.
anybody.
Well, you got a few more. You're gonna be here for a little bit. You'll be able to get a hold of them. Listen, when you try, you ever heard of, what's that saying?
Nothing beats a failure on a try.
Well, that. But what's the student, the teacher appearing or something?
It only shows you the. Go ahead, Mike.
when the student is ready, the
Teacher will show himself.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So even if he's not able to do it, somebody will. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying he won't, but this is my point. Like, because listen what I'm about to tell you guys. When you're ready, you can't hear the wrong thing. And when you're not ready, you can't hear the right thing. I mean, I think I do a pretty decent job of breaking this down a little bit and talking about it and making it look like, you know what I mean? Trying to explain to you, like, this is the way to go. I could talk to some people till I'm blue in the face and they're like, no, you know, like they think, you know what I'm saying?
There's another teaching that says don't cast your pearls before swine.
Don't what?
Don't cast pearls before swine. Like, in other words, people that aren't ready to hear it, you're just wasting your.
Well, yeah, and that's what it is. I mean, it's like I said, if you're not ready, it wouldn't matter what. I could be giving you the code to Fort Knox, and you know, it
I've
doesn't
used
matter.
it.
me and you both, brother.
But yeah, it took my friends and family keep telling me I needed help and, you know, you're drinking too much, Danny. And then finally, the last time I went to the pavilion, I told the nurses, I said, I want help. I need to go more than just here because y'all can't give me what I need. And I need a recovery plan. And I called y'all's sister company and they said I'd have to have $1 million to go there because
Where,
I was
Dovetree?
on a network.
Duff Tree? Duff Tree?
Yeah.
That's where I tried to go to at first.
And they said that y'all accepted my insurance. And we contacted you one day, the next day they were talking about wanting to get me on a plane that day. I said, well, I still gotta try to get some stuff together. So they said, how about Wednesday? I said, that'd be perfect.
Nice. So listen, I like what he just said. He said his family, his friends have been showing up and explaining to him. And anybody in here got an example from me where you're kind of going through thinking that whatever, and somebody, I call it like somebody putting a mirror in front of you and allowed, it kind of hit home in a way where you realize you do have a problem. Anybody got a story like that? Go ahead.
I had a full-blown intervention
Full-blown intervention.
the first time.
Okay. What was that like?
Kind of pissed me off, honestly.
Okay.
My buddy was like, you want to play golf on Friday?
Oh, it's sexual.
I was gung-ho, ready to go. It was beautiful outside. And he's like, all right, hold on real quick. And he goes downstairs. And all of a sudden I hear all these footsteps coming up to my house. I just sit down on the couch, I know it's coming. Because one of my other buddies had talked to me, I was like, dude, you need help. And I was like, yeah. So, it was 7 of my friends, my best friend's dad, who I used to live with my parents moved before I moved to Massachusetts, and my parents. They had my uncle on the phone and another buddy of mine on the phone. They had all written out letters, and they had like an intervention piece. They were like guarding my guns and the windows and all that stuff. So they went around the room and read their each individual, like how it affected them and whatnot. And it was like, you know, and I just sat and listened. And it was kind of an ultimatum, which again kind of pissed me off because I was like, well, you know, y'all sprung this on me. I need a chance to at least talk and think about it. You know, I appreciate it, and I got a lot to digest. And it's like, it's now or never.
Yeah.
If you have time to think about it, you're not gonna do it. And so I was like, well, whatever. You know, it's kind of like we're either gonna be your friends, or we're gonna be here for you, or we're not.
Yeah. They put up boundaries.
Yeah.
And there's, listen, it might have pissed you off and it might have hurt, but it's probably the best thing that happened to you, right? Like, can you say that while you're sitting here now?
Yeah. I mean, you know, when well.
Listen,
yes,
you don't
yes.
have to like the approach, but you kind of got to respect it.
Well,
You know what I'm
looking back,
saying?
I'm glad I went the first time
Yeah.
because this time around, like when my dad flew down here to get me out of jail, he's like, "Well, what's your next move?" I'm like, "My next move is for me to figure this stuff out, not it being forced on me."
Yeah.
And so he had no idea that I was doing the research of all these different places around the country and talking to buddies from my last place and talking to other buddies like I played baseball with that had been, and getting their take on the places that they went and what they liked, what they didn't like. And like I talked to 7 different treatment centers. And what I liked about all those, and especially the ones that my 4 friends that I talked to that had been in treatment recently, kind of took keywords and typed them in and typed Texas, and it always kept coming back to this place. And so I ended up talking to Emily from Summit, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know who she is.
But
She doesn't.
she wrote me a handwritten letter that I got the other day.
Emily's in Dovetree, that's who I talked to too.
Okay.
She's
She
corporate, yeah.
wrote me a handwritten letter that I got last week of, you know, glad you made the choice, whatever, really glad that you're here, and, you know, one day at a time, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my dad stayed around, whatever, but he had no idea I was doing all the research. And again, you know, in my mind, it was kind of that higher power that things happened the way that they did because I didn't have my kids for Thanksgiving, and, you know, it was, I think I checked in on the 19th, so I had Christmas, I'll be out before Christmas, and if I made it through Thanksgiving and Christmas before I really made a decision on what I want to do, I'd be like, well, if I can make it through Thanksgiving and Christmas, so I never probably would have done it. And that's kind of helped me kind of buy back into the higher power deal, that all this stuff didn't just happen the way it did for no reason. I mean, something sparked something in me, maybe sitting in jail for 4 days, but
Hey, that's okay.
no, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I had a lot of time to think.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, exactly, like, because now you gotta think, and now you can't react right away, because where are you stuck? You
Well,
know,
and the
you
other
sit-
thing that was good was, you know, again, it was kind of on my terms, and when I went down to my dad and I was like, I think I found the place I want to go, he was like, looked at me like he saw, maybe like a kind of deer head like he saw it goes. He said, well, I was like, yeah, for the last 2 days I've been doing a shitload of research, I kind of showed my notes and whatnot. And he was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to talk to you about it because the first thing he asked me when he picked me up from jail was, well, what's your plan? I'm like, we just talk about this tomorrow.
Yeah.
I said,
Which he
"My-
thought you were just, yeah.
and he thought I was just kind of getting back to it. And and he was like, well, I was planning on kind of letting you do your own thing. I said, yeah, the more you, I'm one of those people, you tell me to run right, I'm gonna run left.
Yeah.
The more pressure you put on me, I'm gonna fight back.
Go ahead, man.
So, I mean, again, you know, everything happens for a reason, and like I said, I kind of needed jail to hit rock bottom, to force my hand, and the way it happened, and the timing and everything just all kind of fell into place. I feel like I picked the right place, and I could ask for better.
Good, man, and that's, like, so he had a full-blown intervention. Anybody else have that?
No.
But nobody else in here had their family sit them down and say some shit to them, and they were like, oh, shit.
Well, my family couldn't, they're out of state.
Well, you just told me your friends did. That's
My
family.
family's out of state, they flew in from
Yeah,
I
but
did-
not even that. When you listen, I don't care if it's blood relative or somebody. Listen to me. 1 second, kid. If somebody cares enough about you to have the type of conversation they had with him, they're family.
That's what I'm saying. When my
Because-
parents
yeah.
flew in, I had 2 people
Yeah.
on cell phones. I mean, there are enough people.
Yeah.
And there's essentially 12 people in the room, one way or another.
Yeah, this is
Good.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. And then
No, I was just gonna say this is a good place, I don't wanna come back, but, you know, the luster is starting to wear off. But it's a good place, man, that's why I did come back.
listen, I've been to treatment centers before, and I've been to some good ones, and I've heard some stories about some bad ones. I know for a fact that a lot of people here genuinely care about you guys. I tell you all the time, as much as I love you, as much as I love you, I love your kids more. Do you understand what I'm saying? I say that all the time. Our families deserve us to get better more than we deserve to get better. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not that you don't. You know I love you. You know I want the best for you. But still, they deserve it more. And I told you, like, why I push this shit so much. I really want to see your kids. I want your kids to get the gift that mine did. Do you understand what I'm saying? Oh shit, guys, shit, I didn't realize how late it was. All right, thank you. AA, if you guys are gonna go, be back in 2 minutes.